It's more than a year since we last had a dialogue here. I thought it was useful for us to meet again, get your views, and hear the sentiments on the ground. I just came back from Bali. I met President Jokowi for our annual bilateral leaders retreat. And our relations are good with Indonesia. Economic cooperation is progressing, and Jokowi hopes to attract more Singapore investments. Indonesia is going to hold national elections in April next year, in fact on April the 19th. I marked the date on my diary. We hope to keep relations stable during the campaign and to pick up our cooperation with them afterwards. Our relations with Malaysia are also stable. The HSR was an issue, potentially, but we worked out a 2-year deferment for the HSR project, and that was a constructive resolution of what could have been a spiky dispute. Next month, Dr. Mahathir is visiting Singapore. He's coming for the ASEAN meetings. And then about 10 days after that, I'm going up to Putrajaya for our annual retreat between the Singapore and the Malaysian PM. And I hope at the retreat we will be able to look ahead to discuss win-win opportunities in order to deepen our cooperation and friendship. At home, over the last few years, we've been tackling issues which concern Singaporeans. Our public transport has been greatly improved. On the trains and on the buses, crowding has been considerably reduced because we have more buses, more trains running. We've opened more train lines. We've improved MRT reliability after several years of very hard work. This year, the reliability, they have gone up to mean kilometers between failure of 660,000 kilometers. It is about 10 times better than where we started, say, 5 years ago. So they've put a lot of effort in, and I think people can see it and are benefiting from it and appreciate it. For public housing, we've built more flats. The BTO queue is much shorter now. We've improved affordability. Incomes have gone up. Flat prices have remained stable. Young people are buying, often just using their CPF, no need to touch cash. And we are introducing new flat concepts, like 2-room flexi flats, like Kampong Admiralty. For healthcare, we are building new hospitals. Ng Teng Fong Hospital is running several years now. Sengkang General Hospital, just down the road from here, already taking patients. We're getting new polyclinics up, old ones redone. Crowding has come down, waiting times have come down. And we've strengthened healthcare financing with MediShield Life, with CHAS, which will be expanded, and soon with CareShield Life. For education too, we've put a lot of work into the different levels, and especially for preschool, which we've expanded, we've improved, we've made it more affordable. And especially in young towns like Punggol and Sengkang, now the parents don't have to wait until their children grow up before they get a preschool place. The places are coming on, and good places. If you go to Punggol North, you visit the PCF new center there. It's very impressive. We are also tackling other cost of living issues. For example, U-Save vouchers to keep utility fee tariffs affordable. Then we are looking at how to pay for these things, finance, and how to keep our programs financially sustainable. We are planning ahead to make sure we have enough revenues, and especially with a GST increase sometime beyond 2021. At the National Day rally, I spoke about several of these issues. I explained what the government was doing, what people can do to help themselves. Because it's not just what the government is doing, but also individual efforts and your attitudes, how you can work together, how you can work around problems. I addressed key segments of the population and their concerns. Young families who are concerned about housing and education costs. Sandwich families who also have education costs because children not grown up yet. And at the same time, starting to worry about healthcare costs for elderly parents. The Merdeka generation, who are getting on in their 60s and concerned about their own future healthcare expenses. So I talked about individual specific things we are doing, but beyond the individual initiatives, I had two broader messages. First, that whatever our difficulties, none of us is facing it alone. The government understands people's concerns. We're working with you to tackle the problems together. We are working on the same side. Please help us to solve these problems. Secondly, even as we tackle these immediate problems, we have to look ahead and plan for the future. When we became independent, we faced many desperate, urgent problems. But the PG, the pioneer generation, they looked to the future. They built up the SAF, spent blood and treasure, strengthening it, upgrading it year after year. They secured our water supply, building reservoirs, cleaning up the Singapore River, building the Marina Barrage, going for new water and desalination. They pursued the vision of a garden city, planting anti-greenery, enforcing strict anti-littering laws. And today, we are the beneficiaries of their foresight, their imagination, their resolution. So our generation must do the same. We must continue to plan for the future, even as we address immediate concerns. And therefore, we talk about preschools, investing in our youngest, preparing them for a whole lifetime of contribution, of achievement, of progress. We talk about Care-Shield Life, starting with people aged 30 to 40. They ask, why are you starting so young? I saw one of the questions which came up in the grassroots discussions after the dialogue. Why do we start so young? Because we are preparing ahead. One day, however young you are, one day you will be not so young. And one day you will be old. And one day you may be having long-term disability. And the earlier we start, the sooner we can prepare for that day to come. We talk about HIP and VERS, which will only start 10 or 20 years from now. HIP 2 and VERS, which will only start 10 or 20 years from now. We are building new HDB townships. Punggol coming up, Tengah next, Bidadari already coming up. We talk about Paya Lebar being redeveloped, the southern waterfront city, akan datang. Akan datang over the next 50 years, maybe longer. So the paybacks will be many years to come. Meanwhile, there will be sacrifices, there will be opportunity costs, we have to make decisions, invest now for the future. But investing in the future is the right thing for us to do. We can't tell what the next 50 years will bring. We've had decades of peace in Singapore. SAF has not had to go to war. But we live in a troubled world, and the world faces many intractable global problems. Domestically, we have become a united people and a more cohesive society. But we face powerful external pressures and possibly internal tensions too. And these will stress our social fabric, and we will have to work very hard to stay together and make sure that the good work is not undone. So there are uncertainties, but despite the uncertainties, we can plan ahead and we must plan ahead. And unlike most other countries, we can do this. It's a unique position because we have the resources, we have the focus. We can tackle things beyond the next election. We can imagine things 3, 4, 5 elections down the road. And we have to make the plans and the preparations now to secure a safe and a bright future for Singapore. So therefore, if we do this, then 2065, celebrating SG 100, then our grandchildren can say, our grandparents' generation, they did the right thing. That's why we are here today. Work hard, SG 150. But to carry out these plans, Singaporeans must feel that they are worth doing, that they have a stake in the future, that we all want the country to progress, and when the country progresses, we ourselves will benefit, and therefore they embrace the vision, and therefore they put heart and soul into making it happen. The World Bank has just launched its new Human Capital Index. Singapore ranked number 1 out of 157 countries. Investing in human capital, in our people. We don't spend the most on education or healthcare, but we get the best outcomes in terms of years of education, in terms of your standards, the PISA scores, in terms of infant mortality or adult health. We have made the most of our human capital. We've invested in our people. So when I went to Bali, one of the things I did was to speak to the IMF World Bank meeting about Singapore's experience, because the World Bank president, he came to see me, he said, "Don't tell anybody yet, you rank number 1. I said, "Thank you." He says, "Please come and be interviewed with me." I said, "Let me think about it." But I decided to do it and to explain what Singapore did and what our philosophy was. And I said that we started with nothing, but our basic philosophy was we wanted to make sure we improve life for all Singaporeans. And life was hard then. Bad housing, not enough schools, healthcare, very basic, population explosion, and can't provide for the kids. But we wanted to improve life for everybody. That was our starting point, and we did it. So public housing, healthcare, education, we tackled poverty, we raised standards of living, and then as our economy grew and we had more resources and more abilities, then we could invest even more in our schools and our hospitals and create a virtuous cycle. And therefore there's more growth, people's lives improved, and we could do even better. And even till today, ensuring that progress benefits every citizen is still our basic philosophy, our drive. It's not just for economic reasons, because if we invest in people, then they can be more productive and the country is more prosperous and GDP is better. It's not even only for political reasons, because if we improve life for everybody, then there's broad support for a good government which will look after the country. But it's actually for a fundamental aim, and that is we are doing this because we want to improve the life of our people, to improve the lives of all Singaporeans, to give everybody a brighter future, and particularly to give your kids a brighter future. And that is the way forward for Singapore. One threat to this objective, to improve life for everybody, is inequality and the lack of social mobility. Today, we often hear people talking about this, worries that our society is becoming more unequal, more stratified. Recently, SMS Janil hosted a CNA documentary, Regardless of Class. You may have seen it. It's a good video. Janil has many talents, and he presented it. I thought for a while he had been employed by MediaCorp because he was so professional. But if you watch it, it will give you a sense of how people react to one another, think about one another, talk about one another, feel about the way others look at them, talk to them, their attitudes towards them. And he brought together school kids to exchange views, some normal technical, some in the poly, some in the integrated programs, so very wide range of kids. He interviewed the security guard at the condominium. He interviewed the professionals who talk about how they interact with others who are serving them, who are looking after them. It gives a vivid sense of the different levels in Singapore society today and how people view one another across the different social groups. Now, inequality exists everywhere. In every society, there's a certain amount of inequality. There's no society where the top and the bottom are the same. Even if you go to North Korea, you can be sure that the chairman is not the same as the laborer. And if you look at your own children, you know, same parents, kids, brothers, sisters, they are not the same. Each one is different, different temperaments, different characters, different abilities, different life outcomes. And when people come to see us at MPS, they will say, 我这个第二个读书没问题，第三个头痛一点. It's like that. So in Singapore, inequality has always existed. In the past, it was also there. It's not clear that it was much more equal. If you look back 50 years ago, a lot of people were poor, often living miserably. And still, there were rich taukees, there were landlords. And there was a range from the rich to the poor. But we have worked hard to lessen this inequality, to raise the base level up, to make sure that Singapore becomes a fair and just society. And how have we done it? Through high quality, affordable housing, education, and healthcare for everybody. We have a tax system. Our tax is progressive. Income tax is progressive. And we redistribute more to the lower income. And poorer households receive proportionally more subsidies and support in all areas, whether HDB grants, transport vouchers, YouSave, or healthcare subsidies. Over the last decade, as the economy has changed and income gaps have widened, we've enhanced our social safety nets. We've introduced workfare for lowly paid workers. We've got ComCare for those needing extra support. We've got MediFund and Elder Fund to help pay for those with medical and long-term care expenses who can't cope, despite all our other schemes. And these have substantially mitigated income inequality in Singapore. But I think the worry is not just the inequality, but also worry about the lack of social mobility. Because people can accept some are rich, some are poor, provided if I'm poor, I have a chance to work hard and get better off. If I'm poor, my children have a chance to study hard and improve their lives. And if they improve their lives, they will improve my life. And that is what happened in the previous generation. And many of the successful people today had very poor parents, lived in rental flats, 7, 8, squeezed into 2 rooms. Somehow they studied, they made good, they grew up, and they contributed. And their parents, they look after their parents, I hope. But if it is not like that, if people are poor, see there's no hope, doors are closed, we always remain poor, and my children too, no matter what we do, then I don't think people will accept it. So I think this social mobility is even more important than the inequality. And we must not allow social stratification to harden in Singapore. It tends to happen in a society after a long time, stable conditions, people separate out, and then it's not so easy to move, and divisions start to occur, start to appear. The way you dress, the way you talk, what you eat, where you go on holiday. You compare notes, then you feel, I show you a little bit, I'm better than you. But I think that we have to combat that. We must make sure that when the country progresses, the lower income are not disadvantaged, don't get left behind. We have a meritocratic system, but we have to strive to bring everybody to a good starting point, to give everybody a fair chance to do well and to compete. And whether you come from rich or a poor family, whether your parents have connections or not, you must be able to show what you can do, to contribute what you can come up with, and to be able to be recognized for your contributions. And therefore, that's what drives a lot of our policies, especially our education policies. The preschool emphasis is one of these. Why do we talk about preschools? Because we want to start with kids young. Make sure that if the parents can't afford to send you to a posh place, you still have a good, very affordable preschool, which will bring you to a good point when you reach primary 1, you are at a good point to start your formal education. We level the playing field as much as possible. We design our HDB towns this way. Same neighborhood, rental blocks, sold flats, same block, 3-room flats, 4-room flats, 5-room flats, mixed. Because we want high and low incomes families to live together, side by side, get along with one another, interact with one another, not live apart and treat each other as aliens from a different world. So these are government policies which are important to safeguard social mobility and cohesion, but just as important as government policies are social attitudes. In other words, the attitudes of each one of us individually as Singaporeans towards one another. We want, and I think we generally do, live in a social society where the ethos is open and informal. We want people to interact freely and comfortably as equals. And we must have regard and respect for one another, regardless of income or status. So the way we dress, the way we talk to one another, where we eat, you go to a hawker center, you're quite comfortable. We want it to be such that people from lower income families don't feel they are being discriminated against, that this is their lot in life. And they should be able to hold their head high, be treated with respect, because he's earning his keep, he's doing his best to provide for his family. And his children should be proud of him too, and want to do him proud. Because with good education, they have every opportunity to succeed at their chosen careers and to improve their own lives and their parents' lives. And if you happen to be successful or you happen to have been born into a wealthy family, you should neither flaunt your wealth nor your success. No need to show off. People are not impressed. If you succeed, remember, it's not purely the result of your own hard work or even of your own talent, because many others have helped you along the way. Your teachers, your friends, your colleagues, the whole Singapore system, which has given you the opportunity to be well educated, to develop your career, to bring up your family in a safe, stable, conducive environment. If you grew up in another country, you probably may not have the same opportunities, you may not have had the same success. But you grew up in Singapore, remember, a lot of people made this happen. So you owe respect and gratitude to your fellow citizens, and you have a responsibility to contribute back something to the society and to the system which enable you to do well. And to your fellow citizens, fellow Singaporeans. Remember, you help them, they help you, we progress together. And we've got to maintain this spirit, this social ethos. Remember how much we rely on one another. If we do that, then people will say, yes, SG 100 means something, work for it. Then Singapore can remain a united society, and we can realize our hopes and dreams for the next 50 years and much longer.